Hello and welcome to Analytics Nexus 2019, the premier virtual event for analytics best practice. This presentation is titled Adobe Analytics Productivity Hacks and will be presented by Eric Matisoff. This is just one webinar in a whole series of presentations you have access to beginning today. A few quick housekeeping items before I introduce this particular presentation. At any time, you can interact with this presenter or other presenters with questions or comments on Slack. The Slack address for Analytics Nexus is analyticsnexus.slack.com, and you should have received an email invitation to join if you registered in advance. If you didn't receive that email, you can find an invitation link to the Slack in the menu below, as well as in the resource list. Once you log into Analytics Nexus Slack, you can find the channel for Eric to engage. Also, you can engage with us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @analytics_nexus. Finally, for questions on Analytics Nexus or Claravine, which is producing this event, feel free to email us at info@claravine.com. This session will be presented by Eric Matisoff. He is a senior evangelist at Adobe, focusing on the Analytics Cloud. In this role, Eric is part of the product team, where he outlines best practices, shares tips and tricks, and helps define the vision that Adobe has for enabling customers to build data-driven experiences. Prior to joining Adobe, Eric was agency side, working for Razorfish and Search Discovery for almost 10 years.
All right, thanks so much for that introduction. I'm excited to be here at the Analytics Nexus conference, and I want to walk you through a number of different ways in which you can take advantage of some workspace productivity within Adobe Analytics. And the reason for that is we all know is that analysts and marketers like yourselves are spending way too much time where you are unable to actually get your job done. And that's because we're getting pulled in every single different direction. Everyone is saying, data, 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 data. How do we get you involved in my project? And because of that, we want you to have the most amount of time available to you so that you make every second count when you're in Adobe Analytics. So the way that I'm going to be presenting that is, first of all, we're going to be providing you with some recommendations for how you can use your keyboard wisely. Then, for mission workspace productivity, we're going to be recommending some segments that you can build even faster than normal, so some quick ways in which you can build segments. Then, I have some recommendations for you for how you can access workspace projects as well as workspace components even faster. And finally, some recommendations on how you can rule your classifications. The first one is recommending some ways for you to use your keyboard wisely. And you'll probably notice this as a theme throughout my presentation. I'm a big fan of animated GIFs. I'm not such a big fan of animated GIFs, just animated GIFs for what it's worth. Anyway, for those of you that are comfortable and familiar with using your keyboard in Analysis Workspace, you'll be excited for some ways and some new tips and tricks for taking advantage of your keyboard when working in that product. So first up, you have the recommendation to take advantage of Shift and click or Command and click, or if you're on a PC, Control click. This gives you that capability to select multiple items, multiple values, multiple components, all at the same time. So you can Shift click, Command click, Control click, whatever you're used to doing, and Shift click will obviously highlight multiple continuous or contiguous items or values or components, whereas Command or Control click will allow you to, as is shown in the animated GIF here, how to select non-continuous or incontiguous items so that there are some levels of separation. Like you can see, we're skipping over number 3 there as we drag in our breakdown. This is also possible when you're dragging in multiple metrics into a table too, so you can Shift click or Command click multiple metrics and drag those into a table as well. So really good little handy quick way to take advantage of your keyboard. Another really useful way to take advantage of your keyboard while you're in Analysis Workspace is listed here. You can save with a keyboard shortcut of Command S. You can save as with Shift Command S, and by the way, both of those would be Control if you're on a PC. And those are huge time savers. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different keyboard shortcuts are probably my most used keyboard shortcuts when I'm working within Analysis Workspace. In addition to saving and saving as, you can also copy. So anytime you have any data that you have highlighted within a freeform table, you can Command C or Control C on a PC in order to copy that data to your clipboard. And then finally, two of my favorites, undo and redo, Command Z and Command Shift Z. Again, replace the command with Control on a PC. So hopefully there's some nice time-saving keyboard shortcuts for you. All right, next up, when it comes to keyboard shortcuts, I want to give you an opportunity to get refreshed. And we'll do this in a few different ways. So all three of these, Alt-R, Alt-Shift-R, and Alt-W, are focused on helping you refresh different parts of Analysis Workspace. When it comes to Alt-R, as you can see in the animated GIF here on the right, the focus for Alt-R is to completely refresh the data, the project side of your Analysis Workspace project. So all of your visualizations, your tables, your segment comparison results, contribution analyses, all of those kind of things will completely refresh when you hit Alt-R within Analysis Workspace. And the reason you might want to do that is if, for example, maybe you know that one of the visualizations is looking weird, or for some reason you want to refresh all of that content because of some issues that you're having in Workspace. That's a really quick way to do it. It's just simply hit Alt-R. Now, if you want to refresh the left rail, the content that's on the left side, your components, your dimensions and metrics and segments, then you have that ability to do that by going to Components and Refresh Components, or you can use the keyboard shortcut of Alt-Shift-R. Now, a reason to do that is if maybe you just, while you were in Analysis Workspace, in another tab, you actually created or added a new event or added a new calculated metric to the calculated metric manager, or a new segment as well, any of those reasons, if you hit Alt-Shift-R, then that'll completely refresh the left rail for you so that all of your projects are then, so that all of your components are now refreshed within your visualization, within your project. Finally, if you want to completely get refreshed and start from scratch, you can go into Edit and then Clear All, or just simply hit Alt-W, and all of your visualizations, all of your freeform tables, every single piece of data in your project will be deleted, and you'll start from scratch. This is really useful if you want just a quick way to completely trash everything and start all over again. The good news is, don't worry, if you hit Alt-W by accident, then we do pop up a dialog box that says, hey, are you sure you want to do this? Another really valuable way to take advantage of your keyboard as you're working in Analysis Workspace is also by creating what we call calculated metrics on the fly. When you select two metrics at the same time, you can right-click those and create a metric from that selection, as you're seeing first here, by making revenue per order. Also, if you want to pop open any metric that you already have in a freeform table into the calculated metric builder, you can just simply right-click any singular metric within a freeform table, create metric from selection, and then open that in the calculated metric builder, and then you can more quickly begin building your calculated metric there as well. So hopefully those keyboard shortcuts and ability to take advantage of Shift and Commands and Control within your keyboard really makes your time spent in Analysis Workspace even more valuable. Our next topic is build segments quickly. And for those of you that are fans of 90s movies like I am, you'll recognize this animated GIF from Multiplicity, where there are 4 different versions of Michael Keaton, all of which are segmented pretty wildly differently in terms of the ways in which they spend their time here in the movie. And so when it comes to segmentation, we want to do the same thing. We want to be able to build segments quickly. We want to take advantage of that capability to apply it to our data as fast as we can. So my first recommendation for building segments quickly is the fact that you can drag and drop virtually anything into the segment drop zone. As you can see here, if I want to, first I can drag and drop a metric into my segment drop zone, and dropping a metric there will say apply that as a hit-based segment to every single visualization within that panel. As you can see there, revenue exists. Similarly, if I take a dimension and I drop that into the drop zone, then I demand that a hit-based segment saying that that dimension has to exist, again, for all the visualizations. Then finally, you can click into any of your dimensions in order to set a specific dimensional value or dimensional item as a hit-based metric or hit-based segment as well. And again, that hit-based segment will apply to every single visualization within the panel. Here you see we can tap into, we click in a marketing channel, drag in paid search, and now my visualization is updated, demanding that marketing channel equals paid search. Next up, the ability to build segments quickly. I'm a big fan of taking advantage of fallout. If I'm ever building a somewhat complicated sequential segment, fallout is really useful for kind of doing some of the heavy lifting when it comes to building your segment. You can see here within my fallout, I defined a marketing channel equals display or paid search or social campaigns. Basically, I'm focusing on all of my paid marketing channels. Then I'm saying eventually the user's getting to a page type equaling product details. Then on the very next page, or the very next hit, they're adding a product to cart. And finally, eventually, they're then ordering. I was able to do that really quickly within my fallout visualization just by dragging and dropping and building this nice friendly looking fallout. But it would have taken an extra few minutes to recreate that and drag and drop those with the OR clauses and the sequential segmentation, as well as the next hit demand within that second sequential segment. And so just simply right-clicking on that last item in order to build a segment based on that path and based on that fallout, then I was able to have that data right in front of me in order to create that segment. Another really useful way to use visualizations to your advantage to build segments even more quickly is by taking advantage of cohort tables as well. You're probably aware of our brand new features associated with cohort tables that were just released. Well, you can also in any of those build segments from the cells that are returned in the visualization based on the cohort tables that you create. And what you may not already know is that you can create segments based on a single cell, or as is shown here, create a segment from multiple cells. So you can focus in on all of the items that are dark green and select those, right-click, and create a segment specifically from each of those different cells. Our next category to discuss is accessing projects and components even faster. Now, this is an animated GIF from one of my favorite shows, Rick and Morty, where Morty is looking very frantically for a specific, let's just assume, Analysis Workspace project, or perhaps a specific metric that he just can't seem to find in Rick's garage. Well, we want to give some recommendations for how you can take better advantage of some features within Analysis Workspace to make you find projects and components even faster than before. The first recommendation when it comes to accessing your projects and components faster is to take advantage of the approved tag within your components. Now, this is actually a recommendation for those of you that have admin control out there. And for those of you that don't have admin control out there, then perhaps it's something that you can recommend to the admins at your company. Now, the whole purpose of the approved tag is to give your admins and give your implementation team a chance to apply their stamp of approval on calculated metrics and segments that they have shared out to everyone within your organization. The thinking is that everyone in your organization has the opportunity, or probably most people in your organization that have access to Analysis Workspace have the opportunity to create segments and create calculated metrics. The problem is it's very easy to, well, let's be honest, make a segment or calculated metric that is improperly created. So to avoid that, admins have the ability to share out calculated metrics and segments, and then once they are confirmed to be accurate, apply this stamp of approval, this approved tag, to them so that you can very easily find them and feel 100% confident that they were created the correct way. In order to access your list of approved components, just like is shown in the animated GIF here, you can click on the filter above the left rail next to the search bar and scroll on down to approved, and all of your approved segments and calculated metrics will appear there. Now, if you don't see any components appear after you click that checkbox, it's a great opportunity to teach your admin or an implementation team about this feature in order to have approvals applied to those segments and calculated metrics that are shared out. Another really powerful way that you can more quickly access your components within Analysis Workspace is by taking advantage of tagging. Now, tagging is accessible in this same drop-down that you saw the approvals, yet all of your tags are listed there, and they combine and spread across both metrics and segments. So as you can see, when I slide on down and choose traffic, I've got a wealth of different metrics that appear. I can even filter that to a second tag, or I can remove the other tag to see the metrics that are associated with it. Now, if I had also had some segments applied there, then those segments would also show, even if they're using the exact same tag to make it more easy to find the specific components that I'm looking for. Now, why would I want to do this? Simply because you've got a lot of metrics and segments at your fingertips within Analysis Workspace. And so the more quickly you can find the component that you need, the faster you'll be able to accomplish the analysis that you've set out to perform. And so what we like to do is every single time we create a calculated metric or segment, we always apply a tag to it. And as you can see in that last one, we've even started applying tags based on the functions that are being used within calculated metrics. For example, there, we created a tag for approximate count distinct. And that actually came and was generated based on an idea from one of our friends over at Analytics Demystified, who is also a presenter at this conference, the Analytics Nexus conference. And that came from Adam Greco. The idea was every single time you create a calculated metric or a segment, add tags that are associated with the components that are building that calculated metric or that segment. So for example, if you're creating a metric called paid search page views per visit, where you're applying a marketing channel equals paid search segment to your calculated metric of page views per visit, then you would add 3 tags. You would add marketing channel, you would add page views, and you would add visits. And then anytime you perform a search on the tag for marketing channel, then that calculated metric would also show up so you can more easily perform the analysis that you're looking to do. Really great tip from Adam. Cheers to Adam. Thanks. Another way that I highly recommend taking advantage of Analysis Workspace is by building what we call a visual table of contents. And so this visual table of contents that you're seeing here is actually, it has 6 different panels that has miniature visualizations as well as links to super valuable other projects that are accessible within Adobe Analytics. And that's a really good way to take advantage of the linking capability that's available within your text visualizations within Analysis Workspace. So anytime you click on one of those links within a project, it automatically gets you to the project specifically focused on that topic or that analysis that you were performing. It's a really great way to access the data that you need more quickly without having to find it in the open project modal that appears. Now, my favorite way for taking advantage of this is by building out that table of contents that not only has links but also has visualizations associated with the KPI or the metric that is related to the content within those little cells. Now, the last set of topics that I want to discuss is around ruling your classifications. And of course here we've got a little sneak peek into an Avengers movie from Infinity War, where if you can snap your fingers, you'll have more control over your classifications. So let me walk through a couple of ways in which you can take better control over your classifications. Hopefully this little scene isn't a spoiler alert for you. So here you can see a recommendation associated with the classification rule builder. If you've never used or heard of the classification rule builder before, the whole concept is that you have the power to bucket and to change via classification the values that are getting captured in any of your dimensions within Adobe Analytics. So for example, here you can see we're actually taking the page dimension and we're grouping that into more friendly, higher level groups. For example, similar to how a site section might work. We're breaking it out into the cart flow, category pages, subcategory pages, and more. And the biggest recommendation for doing so is taking advantage of the classification rule builder. The rule builder applies rules just like this through regular expressions and more so that you have even more control of new pages that flow in. You can then take those pages and dynamically apply classifications to them on the fly so that you don't have to manually every single day or every single week or every single month download the list of classification of variables and dimensional items that haven't been classified, apply a classification, and then re-upload those back in through FTP or through the browser. Instead, you can do all of that right here using the classification rule builder, which speeds through your ability to dynamically apply classifications. So the recommendation here is every single time you use the classification rule builder, I highly, highly recommend your very first rule, just simply say, you know what, this is going to be my catch-all. This is going to identify any variables or dimensional items that are not classified thanks to these rules. And I do that with a very simple regular expression. It says dot star. That says if there's anything here, then I'm going to set that to unclassified, and I'm going to output it with the $0, which says return the full value of that dimensional item. And the reason that you want to do this is so that you can more quickly identify, you know what, we have an opportunity to increase the quality of our classification rules in the classification rule builder. And so the reason that in fact, my next recommendation is to take that unclassified section, that classification catch-all, and actually do something with it. So last but not least, we have the recommendation to create an alert on any of your classifications that are listed as unspecified, like the one shown here in the animated GIF. What we're doing is we're actually focusing in on a classification in this report suite called product name, and we're identifying the fact that even though product name is a classification, there's still some values that are unspecified with product views as our metric. So all we need to do is just simply right-click unspecified and create an alert from that selection. The alert creation builder will pop up and give us the opportunity to just simply say, you know what, the next time there's a significant increase in product views to my product name of unspecified, remember product name here is our classification, the next time there's a significant increase in product views for an unspecified classification, I need an email. I need to be proactively informed of that. And the whole goal there is now you'll have the fastest way to stay on top of any of your classifications so that you can minimize the amount of times that they go unspecified. Thank you very much for joining. If you have any questions, definitely don't hesitate to reach out over Slack. Looking forward to your questions. Have a good rest of the conference. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Eric, for sharing this material. I think those tips and tricks will be extremely useful. Just a reminder to our guests, you can engage with Eric with questions or comments at his Slack channel, as Eric mentioned, on Analytics Nexus Slack. Thanks again.